Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Podcast, and I got a lot that I want to get into in today's episode. So, we're going to be talking about a few things. We're going to be talking about the Clippers that put a beat down on the Pelicans and how the Raptors ended up stunning the number one seed Los Angeles Lakers. So that's what I want to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to go ahead and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. Guys, we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers as soon as possible. And make sure you hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content so you don't miss anything. With that being said, let's just get straight into the content. I'm not going to waste you guys' time. So it was early in the morning. I stayed up watching some games last night. But as I said, I'm committed to giving you guys straight up heat every single day, or at least as much as we can here at Dreamers Pro until we just burn out. So this is just us keeping our promise, and let's just get straight into it. So last night I decided I was going to watch two games, and there were so many games being played last night, but I decided that I'm just going to focus on these two games. So I saw the Clippers versus the Pelicans, and I got a lot that I want to talk about with that. And I also saw a little bit of the Lakers game between the Toronto Raptors. So first off, let me start off with the Clippers game, since that was the first game that I actually saw. So first of all, watching that game in the first quarter, it was a barrage of three-pointers. They hit a record amount of three-pointers for the Clippers. I think they hit like 24 threes, which set a franchise record for that team. If I want to be absolutely sure about that, I think the Clippers ended up hitting 25 three-pointers out of 47, so they shot 53% from the three-point line. And they just really, once the game started, first of all, it started off with Paul George. Paul George came out, and I think he hit like 3 threes in the first quarter, and the minute he got it rolling, it just became like an avalanche. And I have to say, I was really impressed with the Clippers' concentration and their defensive tenacity from jump. For me, it was something that I didn't expect, but again, I think that the Lakers beating them and how they lost that game, knowing in their hearts that they could have won that game, with them committing about 20 turnovers that game. I think they went back, looked at the tape, and they said to themselves, listen, man, we gave that game away. We play a little bit better. We have, if we were just a little bit more polished on the offensive end, we could have won that game. And I think they saw that, and they wanted to make a resounding statement and really bounce back from that loss. And that's exactly what they did, because they came out with a lot of energy in that first quarter, and I was very surprised. And they kept that energy all throughout the game, especially on the defensive end. Now, another thing that's worth noting is Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley started this game. As you know, he's back in the lineup, and they're beginning to work him back into playing shape. He played 18 minutes, which is 2 more minutes than he played the last game. Last game, he played 16 minutes. And he looked pretty sharp out there. He got you 9 points, 3 assists, 4 rebounds. But Patrick Beverley is Patrick Beverley. He's always intense. He's always, pumping up his teammates, getting guys involved, if not in the game, like physically, but also emotionally. So I was really impressed with Patrick Beverley, and he looks like he's beginning to get himself back into playing shape moving forward, because he is their starting point guard. Now, Paul George, okay? Paul George in that first half was just, he was a monster, man. And the thing about Paul George is when he scores, he makes it look so effortless. If you watch his release on those three-pointers, it looks like he's just chucking them up. He's like catch and release, catch and release, catch and release, catch and release. And for me, as I said before, he is a fantastic three-point shooter, and he showed it again. The Clippers, guys, let me tell you, when these guys are clicking on all cylinders, they are going to be extremely dangerous in these playoffs, and you're beginning to see flashes. Now, granted, it was against the New Orleans Pelicans, who are notorious for losing close games in the fourth quarter, but from jump, it looked like these guys were out of their league, to be honest with you. Now, Kawhi Leonard looked very sharp in that first half. For the game, he finished the game with 24 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. And he looked really crisp, but he did that in 27 minutes. And Paul George only played 26 minutes. And this is what a lot of people don't realize about this Clippers coaching staff. They have found a way to get all of their key contributors, their key players, to get them to play less than 30 minutes a game, pretty much on average. That is pretty impressive. And for me, it's something that, I think is going to be a recipe for success moving forward, because they're really managing their players very, very well. Kawhi Leonard had 16 points in the first half, and he was sensational. He looked like he was in rhythm, I got to say. Watching him in that Lakers game versus the Lakers, at certain points he looked very sharp. At other points he seemed like undecisive, like he didn't know what he wanted to do with the ball, especially in the third and fourth quarter. You guys know I mentioned that in the last episode of the podcast. But in this game, he looked very decisive. He looked like he knew exactly where he wanted to get to. He knew he got to his spots. He hit his shots. And he looked like he was scoring quite effortlessly. He hit a lot of long-range three-pointers for the team. So Kawhi Leonard looked sensational, but mostly I was impressed with his efficiency. As usual, he's very good at shooting a high percentage from the field pretty much all the time. And last night was no difference. Now, for the season, he's averaging 27.2 rebounds and 5 assists. But again, he's shooting 47% from the field and 37% from the three-point line. So, Kawhi Leonard is pretty much doing his thing, for the Clippers. Now, for me, my overall, takeaway from this game was that, I was impressed that they were able to have a nice bounce back win, because I think they needed that. I think a lot of Clippers fans who watch our videos were disappointed, but I think a lot of them needed to see their team go out there and put forth a really good effort. Now, granted, on the New Orleans Pelicans side, it was a horrific night for those guys. Brandon Ingram didn't really have a good game. Although he played 24 minutes, he only had 14 points. Zion Williamson was a no-show. Not no-show, but he only had 7 points and 5 rebounds. And apparently he's coming back. I don't know if it's from an injury or I'm not quite sure. And actually, I didn't want to touch on this, but I'm going to touch on this in this video. It may be a little bit controversial, but I got to give you guys my honest opinion on it. And I'm just going to give it to you guys right now. So, I think in the NBA for the last few seasons has shown us that they're a wonderful hype machine. They did that with Lonzo Ball. Now, fine. His father had a big role to play with that. Magic Johnson had a big role in to play with that, saying that, he's going to hang one of his they're going to be hanging a Lonzo Ball jersey up there in the rafters with the Lakers all-time greats. And now I'm looking at Zion Williamson. I've followed him. I followed his career not too heavily, but I've seen. I saw a lot of highlights from him from Duke. And he's a highlight reel. There's no question about that. He's an incredible athlete. On some of those buckets that he got, some of those field goals that he made in that game, he went up for one of them. I was just like, the guy got off the floor. It looked like it was crazy. It was like he was like on a pogo stick. I was like, God damn, this guy is like a super freak athlete. But for me, looking at there are few things that I'm noticing about Zion. Number one is his weight. And let me tell you, as someone that struggles with their weight, I'm one of those people that gains weight very easily, and it's quite hard for me to lose weight. For me to lose weight, I need to be super disciplined, eating a specific type of food, and work out a lot while I'm doing that. I'm not one of those people that just loses weight by eating anything or just misses a few meals and all of a sudden they lose weight. So I think Zion is kind of in my book, in my boat, where he's one of those people that really needs to focus for him to lose weight. Zion seems a little bit bulky. He seems a little bit heavy. And, for his size of 6'6", 6'7", I think that he could drop some pounds just for his knees. That's number one. So looking at him, he looks a bit bulky. So I don't know how he's going to be playing with all of that weight. I heard that they worked on his running mechanics. He runs like he doesn't run, he strides. If you watch the way he moves up and down the court, he's not running, he's striding, which is pretty interesting. I think I think that they said that's what works for him. But for me, I'm seeing the athleticism, I'm seeing the flash, but I'm looking for the substance. If you look at John Morant, I see the substance there. Like, the guy can ball, man, and you're seeing different facets of his game, his playmaking, his athleticism. And I think John Morant is the real deal. Zion, I'm not so sold on him, to be honest with you. I need to see more, and for me, it just seems like a lot of hype right now. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm not seeing it right now. I'm not seeing the LeBron James comparisons. I'm not seeing any of that at all. So maybe it's just me. Maybe you guys will let me know what you think about it in the comment section. I know he's not a major focus, but I know a lot of people have been saying that the NBA needs him in the playoffs. I don't really think so, because when he's there, I'm not really seeing this. I mean, what I'm not seeing what everybody's talking about. So, but that's just me. So I wasn't impressed with what I saw from Zion. Maybe he's injured or whatever, but John Morant, for me, is the Rookie of the Year, and he is super, super impressive. And that's just my take on it. So those are my thoughts on the Clippers and Pelicans game. So you guys can tell me what you guys thought about that in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought about the game and some of my opinions on the game and on Zion and everything else that I mentioned. So please let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. And now let me just finish off the video talking about the game between the Lakers and the Toronto Raptors. And let me just say, I need to admit this publicly, or rather state this publicly. I need to focus more on the Toronto Raptors, okay? I'm going to admit that publicly. A lot of you guys have been telling me that. I knew they were going to be a good team, and my number one reason for believing that is because of the system that they have, what Nick Nurse has them under, and two, they're playing with a lot of confidence. The champion is always the most confident team, and they're very confident, rightfully so, because they just won their first NBA championship. So I knew they were going to be riding that wave of confidence. And I think they're surprising a lot of people, especially me. I mean, they're doing really well, but for them to go out there and beat the Lakers, who just beat the Clippers, is interesting. I don't know what that says about the Clippers, because I believe the Clippers are better than the Lakers. And I also believe the Clippers are better than Toronto. But to see them go out there and just pretty much beat the Lakers in a decisive manner, 107-92, Pascal Siakam played 37 minutes, got you 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 9 assists. Anunoby played 23 minutes, got you 4 rebounds, an assist. Marc Gasol was steady, 8 points, 7 rebounds. Fred VanVleet, man, the dude, Fred VanVleet, ever since he had his baby, man, this dude has been on just a tear. He got you 13 points, 11 assists, and 5 rebounds. Kyle Lowry went off. He got you 33.6 assists and 14 rebounds. And they just really played a great game, man. Looking at the Lakers, AD chipped in 14 points and 6 rebounds, so he had a drop-off game. LeBron James got you 20 and 10 and 5 assists. Then I'm looking at Kyle Kuzma, who got you 16 points. He probably came off the bench. And Alex Caruso got you 11, and Dion Waiters got you 12. But if we look at the stats between the two teams, the team stats, it was a pretty ugly game, because the Lakers shot 35% from the field, and the Toronto Raptors shot 41. So they didn't shoot very well from the field, so they kind of muddied up that game. But I think the difference is, looking at it here, is 3-point shooting. The Toronto Raptors hit 14 and the Lakers hit 10, so they shot 41% from the 3-point line. And the Clippers shot 20, and the Lakers shot 25, but they attempted 40 3-pointers to the Raptors 34. So it looks like they took better shots, and they didn't hoist up as many shots. Also, they shot a better free throw percentage at 88.5% to the Lakers 74. They killed them on the rebounds with 51 total rebounds and 7 offensive to the Lakers 40 rebounds. So they beat them there. There was definitely better ball movement with 24 assists to 17. And again, LeBron James is the primary playmaker for the Lakers. So, I mean, they don't have that many playmakers. Rajon Rondo's out right now, so there's an offensive burden on the Lakers that shouldn't go amiss. Of course, the Lakers are going to have 12 blocks because they have more size, And the turnovers were pretty even. The Lakers had 17 and the Raptors had 14. But nevertheless, man, I think it was pretty impressive that the Raptors were even able to have more points in the paint. And you would think the Lakers would have more points in the paint, but the Raptors ended up with 40 points to the Lakers 34 points in the paint. And I think that the Raptors are alive. I think they're a real threat in the Eastern Conference, and I think they're a threat, period. They're the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference behind the Milwaukee Bucks, who have the best record. But I think the 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference are the Toronto Raptors, and the Toronto Raptors could beat the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm not saying they will, but they could. You never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, and they also have their own star in Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry to Giannis's, and the Bucks, who have the Giannis Antetokounmpo, who's most likely going to be the back-to-back MVP, and Chris Middleton. So the Toronto Raptors are for real, and I got my eye on them, and I'm probably going to be covering them a lot more moving forward in the rest of this season. The Lakers, they dropped the game, so they need one more win to secure the number 1 seed, and I don't think they're going to lose like 5 games or whatever, or 6 of the remaining games. So I think the Lakers are going to get at least one more win to lock up the number 1 seed. So that's what I saw from these games last night. That was my takeaway. So it's real simple. You guys can let me know what you think about all of these things that I saw in the game. Again, don't forget, we have our Dreamerspro podcast on Spotify and iTunes. We have the link in the description below, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. Once again, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day. Peace.